Hi, my name is Julia, and I am a direct sales coordinator at Shufti Pro. Shufti Pro is an AI-powered identity verification solution that employs hybrid technology, artificial intelligence, and human intelligence to provide accurate and robust identification solutions to eliminate risks, identity theft, and financial crimes. Shufti Pro offers KYC, KYB, and AML verification for organizations all over the world. In this webinar, we will be looking into frauds to look out for in 2021. As we know, 2020 has been a hard year for many reasons. The global pandemic, first of all, then the crumbling economy and the mushroom growth of online activities due to quarantine. We hope 2021 will be much different from its predecessor. However, some of the facts suggest that even though we might overcome the pandemic, overcoming also the fraudulent behaviors and the increase in malicious online activities seem a bit too far-fetched. So, in this webinar, we will be talking about the growth of frauds from 2019, the expected frauds on rise in 2021, how to separate clients from con artists and meeting new regulations, and also we will discuss how Shufti Pro helps in protecting against these frauds and how to stay tuned. So we can see that from 2019 we are experiencing a growth in frauds. In 2019 specifically, about 1 in 15 people in consumers became victims of identity frauds, while in 2020, 1 in 5 people were victims of identity frauds. And independent research reveals that there is data breach every 39 seconds. Similarly, 57% of global businesses reported higher losses due to account takeovers. And what is interesting is that 51% of small businesses don't invest in cyber risk mitigation. Additionally, the healthcare system was hit ruthlessly by frauds, and it resulted in 180 billion of euros of losses in the whole sector globally. So, based on these facts and figures, it is safe to presume that 2020 will be no different, and the amount of risk will only get higher. So it will demand for a better understanding of fraudsters, of course, and also with a swift and secure fraud prevention, development of fraud prevention tools. So let's take a look at the expected frauds rise in 2021. We have a business email compromise or BEC scam. We also have Frankenstein fraud, invoice and prescription fraud related to know your patient activities, child ID theft, increase of authorized push payment frauds, and interconnected supply chains related frauds. Talking about business email compromise or BEC, cyber criminals are relying less on stolen personal information and way more on impoverished consumer behaviors. The Identity Theft Research Center claims that in 2020, personal data breaches decreased to 30%. And so the number of individuals affected lowered by 60% year over year. The main reason for this is that fraudsters are now aiming somewhere else. In 2020, cybercriminals will focus on attacks like ransomware or BEC scams, and this will happen every 11 seconds. This is because BEC is automated, so it carries a lesser risk for fraudsters with higher buyouts. So, however, Shufti Pro biometric verification and two-factor authentication is an effective and secure authentication process, which will provide an added security layer to your personal information and to your onboarding procedures. Because hackers can access something you know, for example, the credentials, can access something you have, like authentication codes, but they can't access something you are. So the biometrics, like for example your face or your fingerprints. Another type of fraud that will be on the rise in 2021 is Frankenstein fraud. This is merely a case of synthetic fraud, but an estimate of Auriemma claims that synthetic IDs every year causes losses for $6 billion of dollars. Additionally, the Federal Reserve claims that the synthetic ID is growing rapidly, and although from 80 to 90% of these frauds are listed as credit losses. So 2020 has been a great year for identity thieves, who looted about $1.2 billion, and actual numbers are even higher, as there is no real record of defaulted loans as such. In this case, Shufti Pro documents verifications and biometric checks can help in catching fraudsters, because Shufti Pro technology is able to detect even the slightest forgery attempt, thanks to a very accurate machine learning. Then, as previously mentioned, the healthcare industry has been in real pressure throughout the years because of the pandemic. And mainly due to this, we are looking into an increase in breaches in the healthcare system. Global healthcare industry witnessed most data breaches in 2020, about 2 times more than their closest industry. Unfortunately, there are no signs of slowing down in 2021. And this clearly shows the brunt faced by the industry. An independent research claims that by 2026, it is expected that the healthcare fraud detection market will reach up to $2,168.1 million, and the healthcare industry will use online fraud solutions 4 times more. Healthcare data is extremely sensitive, and for this reason, it is the most sought out after in the dark web. So better and strict measures are required to stem this flow. However, you can prevent medical identity theft through Shufti Pro identity verification services to avoid identity invoice, prescription, and insurance frauds through the real-time document verification. Additionally, age verification technology of Shufti Pro will allow to curb illegal drug sales and at the same time securing data through GDPR prescribed practices. As regarding child identity theft, this particular fraud has been going on for some time now. Child identity theft, also known as child identity fraud, usually happens when someone takes a minor's personal identifiable information, PII, and other data. This happens very often because children usually have a very clean record, and this is extremely attractive to identity thieves. According to the Identity Theft Resource Center, 1.3 million children's records are stolen every year. And in the specific, foster children have a greater risks if compared to other children. Only last year, over 1 million children were affected by identity fraud, causing $2.6 billion of dollars in losses, and it resulted also in families paying over $540 million of dollars. And this trend is only increasing. Using Shufti Pro age verification solution can help you prevent this type of fraud, as it is specially tailored for age-restricted products and services. Additionally, it helps keeping children and minors away from viewing risky material online. Following the ongoing trend, this particular fraud is also expected to rise significantly in 2021. There are many prerequisites for app to occur, and some of the most common recurring facts are as follows. Fraudulent invoices to scam businesses and consumers, hijack accounts during property transaction to divert funds into the bank accounts of their choosing, or app schemes also involve account takeovers, which enable cybercriminals to take over individuals or business accounts. We all know that these scams are very convincing, can be very convincing. So it's not a surprise that the UK Finance found 19,000 victims of authorized push payment scams that total more than 100 million pounds. Of all these 19,000 victims, 88% of them were consumers. So employing Shufti Pro's documents and or invoices verification together with a strong customer authentication will surely enhance the organization's fraud prevention toolkit. Last but not least, supply chain is a fraud that has been recurring. It is mostly considered an insider job, and also Deloitte confirms that 23% of fraud cases involved employees, followed by vendors, 17%, and 20% included third parties, subcontractors, and their vendors. In order to avoid this type of fraud, one should know all the links in the chain. Manufacturers, subcontractors, logistic providers, agents, brokers, and so on. Of course, any indirect exposure to fraud is often overlooked. FATF has issued guidelines to help the public and private sector with this challenging of detecting trade-based money laundering. Through Shufti Pro, you can easily know your vendor, manufacturers, employees, via KYC, KYB, and AML solutions, both for businesses and for individuals. So approaching 2021, it will be required to be compliant with the latest regulations. In this case, Shufti Pro adheres to the latest regulations and will help you onboarding real customers and keep fraudsters away, along with meeting strong customer authentication requirements stated in the Payment Services Directive of the European Union. SCA requires authentication of at least two of the following three elements. Something the customer knows. So Shufti Pro offers two-step authentication, and users chooses a personalized code or an auto-generated code for authentication at each login attempt. Then something the customer has. The end user in this case is prompted to enter the authentication code as a second authentication factor at login in the device he owns, which can be a phone or a hardware token. And last, something the customer is. Shufti Pro is an AI-based face verification solution preventing frauds by reducing false negatives through accurate ID verification within 5 seconds. So to conclude, we know now that any technological advancement has got a role in our lives, and so consequently we can also expect an increase in frauds. And also technological breakthrough brings a windows for fraudsters, but also for anti-fraud professionals. To curb the emerging fraud vista, anti-fraud professionals must adopt the latest AI-based technologies like Shufti Pro, which is most noticeable and cost-effective when it comes to anti-fraud and KYC, AML, and KYB solutions. Association of Certified Frauds Examiners predicted that a use of AI machine learning as a part of organizations' anti-fraud programs is expected to triple by 2021. Also, 26% of organizations uses biometrics as a part of their anti-fraud programs, and 60% foresee deploying biometrics by 2021. Finally, 55% of organizations plan to increase their anti-fraud tech budgets by 2021. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and for further queries, please contact at julia.paiuti@shuftipro.com or sales@shuftipro.com. And I would like to wish you a very happy new year. Thank you.